Good day, good morning, welcome to my humble abode. This is DentalBytes. I'm your host, Marc Wagner. This one's going to be a little bit different today. I had two guests had to reschedule. So what do you do in that situation? I didn't get all dressed up. I didn't get all dressed up for nothing. So I'm going to try to do a solo podcast first. And I've been thinking about doing one of these for a while. So we'll see how it goes. I do talk a lot, for those that do know me. Yeah, we'll see if the ideas, we'll see how things flow. And guess what? I have the off switch. I can just turn it off if I want. Without further ado, it's me. What I want to talk to you about today, and this is a world, and I deal with a lot of these folks. We deal with, we are in the industry of dentistry, but yes, there are groups of practices, and you have all the bits and pieces that you can benefit in that situation, such as, having a marketing team, having an accounting team, having somebody helping, staffing and that sort of thing. But I'm going to approach this thought as a entrepreneur myself, as a relatable, bridge to this conversation that I'm going to ramble about. I do have a little bit, I put down here to chat about. So I'm going to dive into a list of things that, are sort of highlighted in my mind as being, a stable-minded entrepreneur that, with an idea, a good idea that you're turning it into something that is perceived as value to somebody that, your market. It's not an easy feat. It's a long road. So my story getting into this, for those that know me, know this story. I worked for a distributor. I don't know if I can name it, but those of you that know, you can go to my LinkedIn page and see. But I worked for a fantastic distributor for 3 years. I got a great base of information, a great base of knowledge in the industry. I took it upon myself to learn every single different aspect of every single different product. This particular company online had something like 400 training modules. I did them all. And I think I was the only one in the, there's like 45 folks that were in the unit. We went down to the training facility down in the States to do that. I was the only Canadian there as well. I was the only one that did the 400. What I'm trying to get at is, is like, knowledge is power. So, from my point of view, if you're making decisions, the more like I'm saying obvious things, but the more you know, the more you have those, oh, okay, and being humble about it and not coming to your own conclusions all the time. You have to be creative and get there in those decisions. But I see this out in the dental market too, with all the successful folks that are seeing, thriving practices out there. And this is from my perspective, is these folks are like really diving into the CE world. They're really educating themselves. They're making sure that they're a part of a great study club. In a lot of cases, for those that are fortunate enough to have this, they have a great mentor too. I think, to start off, like, it's an idea. Obviously, it's a product, it's a service, et cetera, et cetera. But the more you can, build that foundational piece of knowledge behind your gift or your whatever you're pursuing. It really helps. It really helps to understand, the body of water that you're getting into. And this will help you, from an idea going off course, or an idea that, quite frankly, in the end of the day, it's just not going to work out. And, that's a tough one to swallow, as somebody that is passionate. And that's another huge piece to it, is, to keep going forward, is you have to have a passion behind it. That's where I think that's the differentiator in between a successful entrepreneur and not, is that just that pride and that passion behind whatever it is that you're pursuing, whether that's being a great dentist, or is somebody like a songwriter or whatever. It's that creative energy that goes into it, that output, people see that. That's what people, I think, attach the value to, is that's what will differentiate you in the long term too, is your drive to, the passion does all sorts of great things. Is it, you want to be the best at it. You enjoy it too. Let's face it, like, these roads are tough, so you want to be able to enjoy it. I'll dive into some stories that sort of makes this ramble relevant. But there is a level of, obviously, it's not for everybody. There's a level of risk in getting into sort of starting up into a startup situation. We have so many tools at our disposal now when it comes to calculating this risk. First and foremost is, educate yourself and really dive into whether or not it's a viable thing. You might think that it's a fantastic idea and you would buy it, but would the market? And that's the hardest piece of all. Or perhaps you have something that's awesome, but you're really not educating your market properly on what that value that you're providing. And now, we can get into sort of like a commoditized business venture versus a, something that's going to provide value. And the more value you can provide with your service product, I'm obviously saying the most obvious things, but I think simplification is key too, in the journey. And my ramble does not sound simple. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird talking to yourself. Do you talk to yourself? I'll be one of those guys that will talk to myself driving down the street. I'm okay with it. But yes, simplification. You can't, like, this is the hardest part. And I've used this this analogy, in my journey, is Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein came up with the most, one of the more famous equations is E equals mc squared. But I don't think that people really realize, E equals mc squared expanded out, like the full equation it's 2 pages long. So in describing your product or service to a potential buyer, it's important to boil it down to its E equals mc squared. So what does that mean? It means, sometimes it just means removing all the fluff and all the extra thought that's involved in it. And you really got to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. I remember sitting there, proposing a project that I wanted to be, I ended up moving forward with this project, but, really sitting down and before, planning out this proposal that I was about to make to this group, like, I have like everybody's got 1,000 ideas of how things would work, but I think it's tough for folks as we're all sort of like, we have our own mind, so it's a difficult feat to analyze the folks that you're going to be talking to and really talk their language. Essentially, is what you're wanting to do. So diagnosing what it is that let's face it, you're going into, fill a void or provide something that bridges them to something. But there's also the intangible things that your service provides that your potential buyers might not be aware about too, which is important. So in terms of shooting a video, and that's essentially that's where I've kind of gravitated towards is video. You want a video, that's cool. And everybody wants a nice video, but diving into what it's actually used for is a really interesting topic to bring up. It's just like, content could be used across all different platforms, obviously, but to expand on that thought and increase the perceived value on the video now. Whereas, I want a video for my website. Okay, cool. But, what if we shot a couple more elements and, hey, we can use now the video, I can chop it up into 10 different pieces. And now you can also spread it across your social media, things like that. And why you need to do that, for the most obviously glaring reasons is, that exposure. But what is that for you? What does that mean for you? The more you can elaborate on what it is you're providing, the easier it is to bring it forward. And again, simplification. You lose people, and I've probably lost everybody that's been listening. I don't know why I do that. I pause, and it's not a confidence thing. I just maybe more of a joke thing, and derail myself. I have found in several, my career has been in predominantly in sales, gravitated obviously more towards like a hybrid marketing sales role. The world's changing to that. I think as salespeople, I think people are quickly understanding that the more you're utilizing networking for like a prime example, and platforms that are available, and putting together educational pieces on what it is that you're doing. And here's the mistake that everybody makes and doing these pieces is, don't make it about yourself. Don't make that mistake. Don't make it about like, hey, I provided this, and that. Do that by like highlighting testimonials. Like, nobody likes that. That comes across wrong. Like, that's obviously my opinion, but would just leave a comment if you agree with that. Like, I just personally find it irritating. Maybe that's because that's my makeup. I think it's cool. You're great at what you do, but back it up. Like, that's why reviews are so powerful. Actually, reviews, interesting piece to that is Google reviews are only 50% of people trust them. So I think it's important to be genuine. Be yourself. Fuck up, make mistakes, and own it. It's okay. We're human. But I'll get into my list now. So number one is embrace risk. Obviously, if you're out on this event, nothing's for sure. Like, nothing's established. You got to be okay with the idea that you're going to eat dirt maybe a month. And that's just the nature of the beast. Have a really solid plan in place financially. And, obviously that's a motivator, but it's not an easy road. But, calculate it. So put things in place. There's tools and software that you can put in place to really calculate your ROI, where you're spending time, and really reflect and evaluate, on a regular basis. Make it a point, because again, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again to expect, the same or like a different result. It's just 9 times out of 10, that calculation, the variable at the end is probably going to be somewhere close in the range of the same result. So, being creative sort of on your approach is really important, but base that on data. Like, use data. If you're not good at reading reports, get a good accountant. Get somebody that really can peel back the layers of the onion and go, listen, you're spending all your time doing this. You're making, this much money, but this thing that you're not really thinking about over here, you're doing it like 20% of your time, and you're making actually more revenue doing that. So you should consider that. And obviously, those things there might not be as abundance of those things that you make a higher margin on or a higher revenue on, but understanding that your business on that frame is going to pay big time in the end. And yes, doing the right thing is very important, but having somebody in your corner that understands the analytical data and using tools to diagnose that. AI has been amazing for me personally, in dumping a report into ChatGPT and having ChatGPT sort of analyze it. I've got a profile built just for the business, so it's an ongoing prompt where I use it as it's an assistant essentially. Obviously there's a level of inconsistency and BS in its result, but it's getting better and better. So, adopt AI in sort of that your calculation part of your business. Number 2 is adaptability. And this stems out of how things are tracking. You got to be able to go, I love this idea, I really enjoy doing it, but it's not yielding anything. And you have to be able to give up on an idea or repaint it or change it, because the market will dictate that for you. You can't go through this journey with horse blinders on. You have to really, really listen to your client base. Ask for, have regular conversations with your clients. Like, how can I help you, serve you better? That kind of thing, and really love your clients. I've got a really fantastic client in Aldergrove, and she's been amazing. She's been with Dentist on Demand since we kind of started. And she said one thing to me too, and it rings through my head constantly, is in terms of a client, old is gold. So take care of, I'm so grateful. I am so grateful for the folks that invest with us to, build content for you, and allow us to advertise your practice and tell your story. I'm so grateful, beyond grateful for that. I want to do my best to really cherish that relationship, and, not all the time it goes according to plan, and taking the emotion out of somebody saying that this isn't working out. And the this isn't working out piece for me is a time to evaluate sort of, okay, I'm sorry. Obviously try and salvage that, and not see somebody leave your business, but use it as an opportunity to go, I, I genuinely care about, your opinion on, you know, why is it that you decided that you are moving on, and really hash out sort of the A to Z on why. And some people they have a really hard time with that, but taking the emotions out and just having that discussion. And I've had to actually, over the last little bit, I've had to actually let clients go that weren't a good fit too. It's That's not easy either. There is, you have to know what's a good fit for your business, and sometimes to fulfill the items that you want to fulfill in your service, a lot of it is like a misunderstanding on the education and what the deliverables are. But if you've gone throughout and you've had those conversations and still, it's too much, you gotta know when to cut some people loose too, and that's all part of it too. And freeing up your time to serve the folks that have really embraced what it is that you're trying to do and the value that you're trying to provide. It just, there's only so much hours in the day too. So being honest with your time. Number 2, adaptability. I started on it, but I tangent. I like to just go off on thoughts. So I'm apologizing. Normally I have somebody to talk to sort of ramble through this stuff. And again, I derail myself. Adaptability, yes. I mean, especially now, like, holy smokes. Everything, from my perspective, seems to be a bit volatile out there. I think you see it more and more with items that are not established, businesses that aren't established, this volatility. You've seen layoffs, right? That's not easy. You've seen layoffs in the dental industry. It's kind of an ongoing thing. I think layoffs are just a regular thing as the accountants in these companies look to, keep things profitable for shareholders. But in terms of, the solo individual business owners, that's something that you need to sort of keep your eye on too, because things could get out of hand if you just continue down a path and you're not looking at things closely. You got to be able to see these things and adapt to this, like everything's changing and, keeping up with trends. Things are flying at light speed right now. So really making sure that you are dialed in and you can pivot, and it's easier for a smaller entity like a startup to pivot quickly. But, don't pivot completely away from the things that are working either. So you got to know that what's working and what's not, and just be honest with that. Again, this kind of falls into the same piece. Is number 3 is fail fast, but learn faster. So, obviously that's the bumps in the road. And I have, like, personally, I've had a tough time with this, is really taking the emotion out, completely wiping the emotion out of it, and just, diagnosing it for what it is, learning everything there is to know about it, applying it, moving on. You just got to move on. And just, it's not the end of the world. Failure is like, it's not and seriously, if you're, my opinion is if you're not failing, you might, like, obviously your cadence of failing, if you're failing every day, there's a problem, but failure is all part of it. It's how you learn. It's how you know the sort of the frontier of that's the frontier of your idea. That's, sometimes that frontier is like a win. That's great. But sometimes it's not. So understanding that is crucial. and not taking it negatively, taking it as a lesson and growth. Analyzing it again, having a healthy foundational piece of really knowing your business on an analytical, like macro level, super important. Execution. Execution. One of my favorite things to do. One of my most favorite things to do is being in a room of people that are excited about an idea. It's one of the most fun things to do is that creative session when you're sitting. It's inspiring, listening to people's ideas. That's awesome. And I've been in a lot of those situations. But, if that's what you're doing every week is generating ideas and not executing. And sometimes it's hard to execute. You don't know where to start, but identifying the idea, reverse engineering the idea is what I like to do, is taking it apart, seeing it from the end perspective, and then working it back all the way to the beginning steps. So sometimes that means baby steps. It means trials. It means, hey, client, I've got this idea. I wonder if you'd be interested in taking a discount so that we can roll with it, see how it goes, and get people involved in that. That's where it's worked for us. But yes, execution, like everybody's got an idea. The intense part about it is taking that idea and then putting it out there into a reality. And that's the neatest part of it too, is that pathway that you build, turning around and looking at that path is really cool. I think one of the only places that I've actually been able to really, do that is years ago, I worked in hardscape landscaping and actually build retaining walls. And I often reflect back to that as a body of work where you've got putting these blocks and building these walls and then looking back at okay, there's progress here. It's hard. It's hard to do that in a sort of in my world. But I guess I could look at all the video projects that I've worked on. But anyways, execution, super important. So idea, great. Put it down on paper, reverse engineer it, work it from A to Z. And this one, this is huge too. This podcast has been amazing for that. And I am so, I'm so grateful that, this will be, 140 podcasts that I've done, talking to so many amazing people. And it goes back to the first point and just educating yourself on your market. This podcast for Dentists on Demand has been game changing. Having a conversation with every walk from denturists to manufacturers to suppliers to specialists to GPs to everybody in the industry, it really gives you a very crystal clear idea of what could potentially work and what could potentially not work. So, not everybody has a podcast. Maybe they do now. There's so many podcasts out there. But networking and that, it might be simple as and I know I've got 100,000 messages on LinkedIn, but really approach, even conferences are great too. Ask questions and don't make it all about yourself. Ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions, but I have a innate built-in foundation of just I want to learn. But I love the people in this industry, and thank you everyone that I've been so fortunate to connect with and build a relationship with out there. I cherish that, and I'm so grateful, past and present, from breaking into the industry, working with the managers, people have given me a lot, and it's not always worked out. That comes back to the failure part, and the failure part for me is, gravitating towards where I belong, and this is where I keep falling back here. It's where I belong. This is my place in the industry, and I love doing what I'm doing, and it's amazing. And I hope, for my network of clients and everybody else out there, I hope that I've brought you value, and maybe that's from just conversation. Maybe that's just from just good banter and a good relationship, and to the services that I'm doing my absolute best to provide you. Thank you very much for being in my network, and my door's open. I love meeting people. Let's chat. If you have something interesting, I really genuinely want to hear about it. I like the amount of messages I get on LinkedIn. It's really difficult to dive into them all. And a lot of them I'm being pitched. It's like that nature of it. But, PDC is great. Like, if you see me at a conference, say hello, please. I'd love to chat. All right. The next is master the art of sales and marketing. After you've executed and put your idea together, sales and marketing is how you communicate. It's quite simply just that. And sometimes the two don't connect. So having marketing and sales as a thing that connects is crucial. Obvious reasons. Your marketing should be tools in the conversation. So, and marketing is, your strategy and your approach. That's the delicate dance, that one there, in, your brand as well is huge, and attaching value to that, building that. Obviously not everybody has a brick and mortar, business digitally. It's where most people exist. So building that an online presence, you can't roll on just a notebook anymore. There's tools out there, CRMs, hugely important to implement one that works for you. There's a lot of cool automations that go into it, but like not setting things and forgetting it. It's a tool. It's an extension of you. Essentially, it's that sales tool. And then really understanding, and this happens more and more in sales, so you understand which character types you're about to approach and how you can communicate differently to these different personality types. That's hugely important. But, going through the door, it's not about you. Like, it's not about your service. It's ultimately about, the value. Obviously, it's about the value that you're about to provide, and their ROI on that. Having case studies on your past successes, testimonials. That's been great to gather folks that are like, that's a crowning moment where somebody sends you a text message and goes, Marc, I really, those photos were great, or I'm really happy with the way this advertisement's going. I'm seeing a lot of new patients, and they're referencing that they saw this video online. That for me is like, okay, because often you're like, I've been driving down the street at times going, what the fuck am I what am I doing? So hearing these things is awesome. It's really cool to, you've executed, you've come up with an idea, you've taken the time to be knowledgeable about who it's going to, and now those folks are now coming back and saying, it's working. So that's fun. That's fun. And for me, like, obviously, yes, you want to provide for your family, but if it's all about the money, it can't be. That's not a long-term mindset. Maybe it is, not for me. I don't think I'll ever, like, I'll never have like a yacht or anything like that. It's not my goal. My goal is, like, I'm successful when I have those conversations with clients that go, thank you, Marc. I understand completely what you're doing. I'm fully on board, and thank you very much. It's working out. That's cool. That's where, yeah, for me, that's where it's at. I love that. That's fun. So, maybe it's a nice car for you. That's your driver, but establishing that is important. But yeah, back to your mastering your marketing and sales. Have systems in place, systems. That's going to be your capacity. Part of sales is your churn. Like, if there's people leaving, understand why they're leaving. Having regular touch points with those active people in your wheelhouse, taking care of old is gold, taking care of the people that have invested in your service or product. So important, and make you appreciate them, because they can easily take that credit card away, and that's it. So, really, like, for us, it's like monthly, hey, this is how things are going, really make sure you don't just, and I've seen this too, this is happening where, you're paying somebody else to, like, yes, if it's an employee, that's great, but make the regular touch points, make it come from you, because it's just, take responsibility. Just take responsibility. If somebody wants to chat, like a client wants to chat, make the time to chat. Answer their phone calls, even if it's not a pleasant one. Listen. That's all part of it. The sales for me is the relationship. You've communicated your idea properly. Your marketing has simplified it so that you can deliver it easily. The sales to me it's a relationship, and the base of it is that you are actually providing a service or value to that person. And yeah, that's pretty simple. It's not dollars or cents for me. The dollars and cents will come from doing the right things. The dollars and cents will come. Just do the right thing. And I've learned that through this podcast. Like I said, all the successful dental folks out there are the ones that really, and the ones that are really enjoying it and relishing in sort of everything, is the ones that are really, like, their chair side, and they're just really taking, and they care about their patients, and they're really taking care of their patients. So take care of your customers like you're saving their lives. Yeah, this one's a really, this one I've learned the hard way. Manage your energy, not just your time. There's this, this burnout thing, that's a real thing. It could really sweep the rug from underneath you. Don't think that you can just blast at 1,000% every single day. You can do it. But a lot of that is delegation and the luxury of having a team. Build systems so that you're efficient and you're not wasting that energy. Systems, a team, and foundation, and having that conversation with your clients so they have a clear understanding of what you're delivering is important. So you're having to go back and having to have the discussion over and over again with somebody that isn't quite capturing it, what you're trying to accomplish as a team. You're a team with your clients. It's hugely important to really be efficient with that, because that energy is, like, I've got 2 young kids too, So I'm tired. And coming into December here, I was like quite honestly spent. Um, like to the point where I felt a little numb, to be honest. And I suffer from, anxiety and depression and things like that. So I have like an extra incentive to really take care of myself mentally. Super important. And there's all sorts of like, I had an amazing conversation with Dr. Kyle Stanley about this too, is, setting your boundaries, and you got to say no. You got to say no. Like, I'll go back to like having that hard conversation with a client that, that it's just long-term not going to work. The revenue's great, but that you're just know when it's not, know when to say no is important. And don't overextend yourself. Try not to do too much. And, as a entrepreneur, you wear so many hats, especially in the beginning. Prioritize and simplify. I've been saying that a lot. Simplification is, I think that's key in a lot of things. I think we overcomplicate a lot of things, don't we? Or we make our lives difficult because of that. That it like kind of extends and transcends away from just our careers and our passions. Know that you're human, I think. And it's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym, you're not going to see the results right away. It takes time. You have to have patience. You got to be in it for the long game, see the long road, have a plan. Set regular, checkpoints where you're looking to see, what's working, what's not working, what to offload, what to walk away from, what to pursue. Because at the end of the day, that gym too, the results are, you have to be patient for. But if you, the burnout is a slow game too, like that builds up over time, and you don't want to be unhealthy. It starts with the mental stuff, and then, it creeps into the body. Our mind and our body are so connected. So making sure that take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And sometimes that's saying no to the people that we love too, and setting that boundary, and just allowing yourself to decompress and find the things, whether that's going for a walk or like exercise, sleep, eat right, take care of yourself in that sense. But find the things that you find joy in. You're not a machine. Yes, like the business, for me personally, this is a passion and it's a lot of fun, and that's a dangerous thing too, because you end up doing it too much. But balance, like there's a balance thing. Like balance to me, I don't know if it's true or not, because like this hustle thing, we talk about like having this balance. You kind of have to be out of balance to like make headway down the road. It's a painful road. It's not easy. And understanding that, setting yourself up with the right gear and armor and weaponry to fight those battles. You can't do that if underneath that armor you're fucked. Yeah, personally, I've hit the wall. I hit the roof. I hit capacity in December, and in between Christmas and New Year's, I made it a point I bought the nicest slippers. I haven't got it yet, but I bought this hoodie. It's a blanket hoodie, and I enjoy just kind of chilling out, reading a book at night, or going and sitting in the hot tub. I just trying to make a point to just like float away. For me, it's an escape. I like, sci-fi, fantasy. Obviously, I'm a huge nerd. So, but hang out with a good friend. Have a good network of good people to surround you too. That's tough, because like I find the time and energy is such a sacrifice in building friendships and relationships too, which is not a bad thing. You just end up filtering down to the pure good friends out there. And like, I'm so fortunate. in the friendships that I have out there. I play beer league hockey too, it's great. I love my Jackals. I've been going for the last 11 years, the same group. So find your things. You have to. It's all about this life stuff, right? Traveling's another one of those things. Eating an awesome meal, trying out a nice bottle of wine or whatever that might be for you. Do it. Make sure you do it. Make a point of it. Take your wife on a date. That kind of stuff. Hang out with your kids, ultimately. Don't lose, like, time flies. I can't believe it's like, the months just fly by. Life just flies by. Don't let it be out of control that way and to a point where you crash. Don't do it. So be mindful of what you need. Be mindful of what you need and be, and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay. And that lesson that's hard for me. It's hard for me to be selfish. I'm just such an outward energy type. So put some of that energy inwards and think of your time as super valuable, and your energy. And I alluded to this last one here. It's the long game. And patience, persistence, consistency, that separates the folks that are like the long-term winners. Don't quit. That's where I was in December. I wanted to quit. That's tough. I might cut that out, but maybe not. Don't quit. Got to keep fighting. The road's not easy. And you got to be okay with it. It might not be what you thought it was going to be when you started out. You got to allow it to evolve. You got to allow it to be what it's going to be. But with your nurturing, with your guidance, it becomes something of a baby. Like a baby. It really is. And that's how you care about these things, the work, the 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears. You just got to keep fighting. You got to have thick skin and be prepared to fight it's the long game. Holy smokes. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Again, if there's anybody out there that wants to chat, please, 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 I am more than happy to have that conversation with you. Oh, let's put on a good song. Where is it? Let's do it. Oh no, this one's going to be it. Yes, this is it. I am more than happy to have that discussion with you. Reach out to me on all the social media channels. I'm on all of them. I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I'm enjoying doing it. I know there are some people watching, which is great, but you just have to enjoy the things that you do and keep fighting. You just have to keep fighting. I'll see you in the next one.